The other day, bright and early in the morning, I got tagged in a tweet possibly exposing Spotify for lying about how they run their platform, more specifically their playlists. Over the past few years, I've seen Spotify has been in a lot of hot water for a variety of reasons, whether it's acquiring Joe Rogan's controversial podcast to creating fake artists. But the tweet I was tagged in brought up a whole new issue with Spotify that has gone relatively unspoken, and it could really affect both the artists and listeners. The issue I found seems like it contradicts Spotify's many statements about how they run their platform. However, to really understand this issue, since I definitely didn't at first, we have to learn a little bit more about Spotify. Now, I'm sure you guys know what Spotify is, so I'm not going to explain it too much. And if you don't know what Spotify is, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not sure why you clicked on this video. But Spotify has essentially replaced the need for these and these. Physical copies of music were how artists were guaranteed to get paid a fixed amount. But with the age of digital streaming services, there are new methods of how revenue is generated and then paid out. But this new system has been a hot topic of debate, especially when it comes to Spotify. Artists on Spotify get paid about 0.004 cents per stream. This has caused a lot of controversy, as other platforms like Apple Music pay 0.0075 cents per stream, and Tidal pays 0.0128 cents per stream. Many people think Spotify pays way too low, as it is the largest music streaming service. Although who's to say what's too much or too little when it comes to streaming revenue? The reason that I'm bringing up the pay is because it really demonstrates just how much Spotify has changed the music industry, and it also demonstrates how much power they have. The introduction of DSPs like Spotify has revolutionized the music industry and will continue to do so. However, payout is just the surface of Spotify's hot topics, and our main topic for this video is Spotify's playlist system. Playlists in general are one of Spotify's defining features. There are three types of Spotify playlists: personalized, editorial, and listener playlists. Listener playlists are the ones that you make on your own, so it's pretty self-explanatory. Personalized playlists are created by algorithms and are personally tailored to each individual listener based on what they already listen to. Some of these playlists would include your daily mix or your Discover Weekly. Spotify really boasts on these playlists and their ability to help listeners find new artists and songs, and they claimed in 2020 that they drive 16 billion artist discoveries a month. I feel like it's a little bit of an overestimate, but I'm gonna let it slide. Then there's Spotify's most celebrated type of playlist, the editorial playlist. These playlists have anywhere from hundreds of thousands to millions of followers, and getting onto an editorial playlist could mean millions of streams and potential new fans. For example, Rap Caviar is one of the biggest and most popular editorials, and getting a placement on here means guaranteed new fans and new streams. So what makes these playlists so significant is that, as Spotify says, these playlists are curated by our playlist editors. These editorials, though, have also come under fire, since because of how popular they are, Spotify can either blackball whoever they want to or promote whoever they want to. You're probably thinking, well, blackballing people is obviously bad, but what's wrong with promoting people? Well, for example, Spotify was in another controversy for creating and promoting fake artists. Fake artists? What? Why would Spotify make those? Well, people have done extensive research and claim that Spotify allegedly has created fake artists, put them into editorial playlists, and then kept all the revenue for themselves, just so that they don't have to pay real artists. Hello Yassine made a very good and detailed video on this, so feel free to check that out after this one if you're interested in this topic. But people think that Spotify did this because there were hundreds of artists with no online presence that were all signed to some random record label called Firefly Entertainment. Firefly Entertainment held the second highest amount of placements in editorial playlists in 2020. So basically, Spotify is buying music, promoting it as if it's someone else's, and then keeping all the revenue for themselves rather than giving the money and the placements to actual artists who make that type of music but are real people. But since these playlists are so coveted, how does the average artist get onto an editorial playlist? Well, artists can actually pitch their songs to Spotify by filling out a variety of things, such as a description and a bunch of tags relating to their song. Then it's believed that editors look through these pitches and pick the songs best fit for the editorial playlist. Many people think that because these editorials are curated by people that you have to know them or have an in or write a really good pitch. And there's even services online that charge for pitches or helping artists get onto editorials that we will see shortly are nothing but a scam. On the website, Spotify says their playlists are created by our editorial teams or based on personalized data. Each playlist is designed to leave a lasting impression on your listeners. So it does seem like Spotify is alluding to these playlists partially being curated by algorithms, but Spotify hasn't been entirely telling the truth. The tweet that I mentioned in the beginning of the video was from an artist named SadZilla. He has 300,000 monthly listeners and makes his living from music. On September 23rd, he released a song called Gonna Cost Ya that got picked up for a popular editorial playlist known as Tirade, which has 300,000 followers. He even got the #1 spot on the playlist. It sounds pretty cool until he found out that his distributor messed up the audio, so it just repeated the first 29 seconds over and over again for the duration of the song. So why would a playlist curator hear this song and then put it at the top of this editorial? Well, they most likely didn't hear it, and it was just placed there by an algorithm. Later that day, the song was fixed, but it left people with a lot of questions. Why would Spotify seemingly lie about how their playlists work? Why do they have a pitching system if it's just an algorithm? Does it even matter if it's an algorithm or an actual human picking the songs for these playlists? Well, to answer these questions, I gave SadZilla a call to learn a little bit more.
Yo, what's up everybody? It's Future Balls here. Just wanted to say real quick that none of the views and claims I make in this video are reflective of SadZilla's opinions. He's very fond of the platform and has a very deep understanding, which is why I reached out to him about the situation. So I just wanted to stipulate that in case anyone at Spotify HQ is watching. Thank you.
So how big is it for you as an independent artist who lives off his music to get onto an editorial playlist?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's a huge boost to your streams. It's basically Spotify's way of giving you a freebie. Spotify is basically acknowledging, hey, you've done good up to this point, and here is some free streams, basically.
Once you got your song fixed, have you seen more traction than usual?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Every single time I land on an editorial, I get some kind of boost, you know? It just matters on what the editorial is, you know? I mean, some are smaller than others, some are bigger than others.
So if they were using an algorithm, why do you think that your song would have made it to the playlist?
Because I just send good positive signals to Spotify. So what I mean by that is I work with people in my scene. I don't buy onto fake playlists. I am only pushing my music towards people who will most likely like my music.
Okay, so there's a lot more algorithm in Spotify than most people probably think.
Honestly, I would say it's probably the most intelligent algorithm or, you know, system that I've ever come across. And I've, you know, done marketing on things like Instagram or Facebook and stuff like that before. And Spotify is definitely the most intellectual, for sure.
What do you think the significance of these editorial playlists being algorithmic is rather than them actually being listened to by real humans?
Positives first is that because it's an algorithm, you don't have to go through any kind of gatekeeper. You don't have to know somebody over at Spotify in order to get on one of these playlists. You just have to do your due diligence and, you know, get your music out there to the right people, the right audiences, and then eventually Spotify will reward you. So it's good that, you know, you have the algorithm doing this in a lot of cases because you're going to get a lot more placements. You don't have that many employees to be able to, you know, pick and choose every single thing. And that's totally understandable that they wouldn't have those people to be able to do that. And that's why they have an algorithm and AI that does this stuff so well. But the negatives is like what we came across, this situation where, you know, something is wrong. And even though everything in the system works and it sounds like this is a great song to push out to people on this playlist, something's wrong with it and the AI didn't pick up on it. One of the things that's interesting about this and the reason that it landed on there is because I also had 2 other people on the song. So we're sending all these good signals to Spotify. It's like, hey, yo, here's 3 people that fit great on this playlist. This will be a great fit for the top spot.
What is your last message for the artists and Spotify users out there?
Honestly, my message to artists is just try to understand what Spotify is before, you know, you put too much faith in the pitching process or have high hopes on, you know, whether or not you're going to land in an editorial, because there's so many factors that factor into this. All you have to do is just put your head down, do the work, and do it correctly. No shortcuts. Just do the work, and, you know, eventually you will get rewarded, whether or not it's by an actual person listening to your music or it's the algorithm. Either way, it works. It gets your music out to people that will like your music, and I think that's great. And I'm internally grateful for Spotify even giving me the opportunity to be on a playlist like that. So it's just really cool. But at the same time, it's just like, I think this is a good lesson for everybody, all the other artists out there that they think that they're being held back by somebody, when it's not really that case at all. I mean, you just have to put the work in, get your music out there, get it to the right people, and like I said, you'll get rewarded.
So like SadZilla said, there's pros and cons to it being algorithmic. Some cons include quality control and people scamming, while the pros include targeting the right audience for your music. Spotify says that their mission is to give millions of artists the opportunity to live off of their art, but if these editorials are done algorithmically, they could be missing out on talented artists that deserve a chance. Obviously, like SadZilla said, these playlists still are giving artists lots of big opportunities, but the only issue is they don't seem to operate like how Spotify was suggesting. I wouldn't say that Spotify is entirely lying about how these playlists work, but they are being pretty misleading. Spotify, if you're watching this and you're low on real human curators, feel free to hit me up, give me a little salary, and I'll do the job for you. I've been told I have a pretty good music taste, so just let me know. But there is a lot of shady business going on within Spotify and honestly the entirety of the music industry. And to learn about some more shady business dealing with leaked music being stolen and sold, make sure to check out this video.